his background, his experiences as an Italian.
Okay, guys, we're running all the time.
Not yet.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Okay, sorry, we just had to figure out how modern technology works. Our next speaker is Peter Töpfer. Peter Töpfer and I were the first time in contact 2005, 2006, a long time ago, around the Holocaust conference in Tehran. And I used to live in Tehran for 3 years, so I was quite interested. And Peter sent me all his books on a CD to Australia, where I used to live, because he said, in this repressive German system, freedom of speech doesn't exist. He lives now in Hungary, like so many other people. It seems to be the country of choice for a lot of people. And Peter said, no, I don't need a PowerPoint presentation. So we have this as his background. I'm going to help him a little bit with translation if he needs it. So I'm just going to stand off here. So please welcome Peter Töpfer from Germany.
Thank you. Well, first I will continue a little bit what you said. Water, for instance. And now I'm living in Hungary, and I have a new home. I live in the countryside, and I'm looking for water. And you know, maybe Hungary is the land of springs and of thermal baths, etc. So you have a lot of springs everywhere, and my last source that I discovered is underneath a Roman church of the 12th century, and what you know, the Druids and the old, they built up their work. They worship on the source, and yeah, this is very important to me, and of course. This is an exception. on the airport I bought it, and of course I try to eat good stuff, drink only good water, etc. But in my theory, or in the center of my interest, is another question. It is why people are not choosing good stuff to eat. Why they are not choosing drink water, good water, clear water, etc. I have a friend of mine. He's eating ketose, and every day he says, oh, no problems no more, no problems anymore. And so another friend, he has diabetes. And I said, okay, but why doesn't he do the same thing as you? Why? And I think it's the lack of will to survive, to live. The lack of will to live and to survive. And this is also very, very important. Maybe more important than, because everybody still can have good water and can have good food, and many of doesn't do it. Because I think the will to live is demolished. Okay, this is the point where I wanted to continue. Okay, so Troy invited me to speak here about the origins of German National-Anarchism, but I have to say, there is no German National-Anarchism. I call it myself, it's true, I call it myself German. But from the beginning of my activity, I said there is no doctrine, no organization, nothing. And so there are a multitude of, I don't know. I know some people in Germany back then that declared themselves National-Anarchists, but they have totally different opinions on so many topics. And the next point important to me is, on the other hand, I see some National-Anarchists all over the world with different opinions and maybe even animosities between them, amongst them. But on the other hand, I see real National-Anarchists, real, for real, in so many countries. In Germany, I know, now in Hungary, believe me, real National-Anarchists without knowing it. They don't know it, they just live it. Believe me, I know them. Real anarchists, they don't know. National-Anarchism, they say in Modern. But they live it. And it is astonishing and surprising the way they can live in our world. It's very surprising. They have their community, their friendships, and so on. So to me, it's an amazing experience to be part of them. Okay, so you have theory and you have practice, and I think the practice is much more important. And of course, it's very interesting, and the theory, me myself, I'm writing a lot. I'm rather writing than speaking. I prefer writing, to be alone and with my thoughts and so on. So I myself, I'm rather the head one, the intellectual, but I see it very skeptically. So I wish I was never I wish I would have not developed in that way. I wish that I would have learned what my Hungarian friends know. They know how to hunt. They know how to cook. They know how they are friends, they are comrades. This is much, much more important to me. And as Adam said in the end, we have to save ourselves. This is the question. We have to save ourselves. There are so many dangers, and yes, we have me. I'm trying to find a way of life that is good, that is safe, that is this modern word nachhaltig. A modern word. This is
forever.
Yeah, that is forever. That is why land is so important, and that is why your own garden is so important, and you know how to do agriculture and so on. And yes. So me, when I speak about German National-Anarchism, which is my case, I was always divided a little bit between politics, non-politics, politics, anti-politics, intellectualism, non-intellectualism, just living. I was always divided. Okay, I'm a son or I'm a product of our culture. Of course, I'm divided. I'm not paleo, how you say, I'm not a paleo like I wish to be. Okay. But this has always been the tension in which I lived between these poles, intellectualism, politics, non-politics, etc. And this is part of what I call German anarchism. That is why also that with Troy we had contact, then some years we didn't have contact, then I came back to have contact with him, then I disappeared again for several years. This is the way I am, and now I'm coming back a little bit, we will see. And yeah, but today I'm here, so I will not be the ape or anyway, right. So, but I will use a little bit my biography to speak about German National-Anarchism. So when I was young, I grew up in Eastern Germany, communist land, and at that time I was opposed to the regime from a left point of view, standpoint. And I was then a Maoist when I was 16, or 16 a little later, okay, it was 13. We a little group, we found it amazing to follow Mao Zedong and Enver Hoxha in Albania. It was great. But you see, I love, to me it was on the one hand some serious thing. I was seriously interested in politics, but then again it was a cult to me. You cult? Huh? So, to me politics is cult. It's art. But in the same time it is serious. I know it is serious. But it was always between poles. I moved between poles. We listened to Radio Albania then, so our teachers and trainer was a sports young sportsman. Our trainers, they looked at me bewildered. What is he doing? We live in the communist land and we dream of Western money, and this guy is listening to Radio Albania. Okay. Once there was a championship in Oslo, in Norway, and Maoist groups had their stand with books like here, and I was very excited and interesting. They gave it away to me because I had money. And my coach, my coach, he said, "Come to my room in the apartment, in the hotel. What did you do with these books?" And I said, I'm interested in a little bit. And what did they give you to you? Okay, and I had one little book with me because I knew, and I said, "This book, give it to me." Wow. But I had 10 other books in my bags, and I brought them back to East Germany. And my father discovered them, and he threw it away in the oven. Okay. Anyway, so you see, I have been always on the left side until even I would say, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I would always consider myself as a lefty. But now, no, because the left is so stupid now. So but it doesn't mean that I had to do something with these guys the last 20 years. But now it's worsening and worsening. It's a catastrophe. I cannot say that I'm a leftist anymore. It's not possible anymore. I cannot say I'm the only leftist. No, the left it's a pure catastrophe. It's stupid and it's ein Angriff auf die menschliche Würde.
It's an attack on the human dignity.
It's an attack on the human dignity to be left or to wiederkäuen a cow. What is the cow doing?
Regurging.
Huh?
Regurging.
Regurging these. Okay, so yes, and in the I was always a lefty, but in the 80s I began to be more interested by the right and to listen to them, and because even then the political correctness, I was fed up with it, and it couldn't continue like this, so I looked to the right, and I became even some kind of Nazi at that time. But it was not only, let's say, politics, serious politics, but it was cult. To me, it's cult. And then the right movement was very strong in the early 90s after the fall of the wall. And for a certain time in the early 90s, I found it cult and exciting to be a Nazi. Okay, some years. Why not? Why not? Why not? Okay, then I had some personal problems, as you mentioned, for you also, Adam. And I had to in Frage stellen, I had to question myself, about myself, the way I live, the way I am, and who I am, etc. And the right, what I was interested in and what I read books, etc. It was not an answer for me, because the right to me is too rigid. The left is maybe too open, no? But the right is too rigid. No? So it was at that time that I had to find something new. I came back to my roots, which was lefty roots, free and too open maybe. And on the other side, the national question, the right was right. There is a nationality, there are communities, of course, there's culture, there's tradition, of course. But at the same time, the rigid way of the right I didn't like it. So it was then that national anarchy was born. I have to say that to me, when we speak about history of national anarchism, I can't remember always very well, but Hans Carney, when have I heard about him for the first time? Maybe in the early 90s, 95 maybe. I read in a French magazine about Hans Carney and National-Anarchism. Wow, great, I loved it. Again, it was something cult for me, it was National-Anarchism. I have to say, 1 year before, I discovered a German philosopher, Reinhold Oberlehrscher, who declares himself, who sees himself as a national Marxist. And I love this guy too, Reinhold Oberlehrscher, although I'm not a Marxist, and he's the statist until the bones. But I love him. And I can tell you why I love him. Because he is a Hegelian. You heard about Hegel, huh? So Hegel is the philosopher of the state, etc., etc. No, I'm not a fan of Hegel. And Reinhold Oberlehrscher is the Hegelian. Huh? But I will tell you why I love Reinhold Oberlehrscher. Because he is freer more free. He is freer in his expression, in his writings. He is more courageous, more serious than any of the so-called liberals and libertarians they are. He tells truths about truths, etc. I don't agree with him on so many points, but the main point to me is that he is free. He is free. He doesn't care about political correctness and stuff. And he's a lefty too. Huh? He's a Marxist. Huh? He's a lefty. Huh? He was, I don't know if you heard about Rudi Dutschke. Rudi Dutschke was the hero of our student movements in the 60s. And Reinhard Oberlerschaft. It divided then. One part went on to terrorist fighting, like Horst Mahler and Baader-Meinhof group, and others not. Reinhard Oberlerschaft was a philosopher. Anyway, well, you see, it's not so easy, black and white. Liberals, I don't see where they are liberal. Libertarians, okay, but in so many questions, they are not libertarian. They are not for free speech, etc. If it touches the real issues, the real problems, where the power has the thumb. And the libertarians, you don't hear them. Reinhard Oberlerschaft as a Hegelian, as a non-libertarian. He says everything. He gets risks, many risks. So, okay, I told you about a personal crisis, and I think this personal crisis was related to, in some way, to get rigid myself. When I lean to the right a little bit, because I was disappointed or my leftist comments, I became rigid, me myself too. So I had to ask myself and question myself. No, Peter, be yourself. Be yourself. You to go in any way, find your own way. And this was the moment when I discovered for me, National-Anarchism. First I heard it in a magazine, Hans Kani in France, 95 maybe. And okay, I found it very exciting, but at that moment I didn't want to be a national-anarchist. But when I had my personal crisis and to resolve it, then I remember, wow, national anarchy, right, this is the way, this is my way to integrate different points, naturally. Okay. Yes. What is important, the difference between Adam's topics and issues and mine, I said it before, that it is the question, do I want to live? Do I want to be alive? Maybe you understand, maybe you don't understand, I don't know. But I know from my experience, from my deep experience, I will speak about this later, that it is not often evident, obvious. It is not obvious at all. Not obvious at all if we want to live. So maybe I speak at that point now on another topic important to me. Since my age of 15, I was interested in psychology, psychotherapy. One day, my brother told me about psychoanalysis. He has heard about it in the radio about psychoanalysis. Wow! It was again to me very exciting, and it was kind of cult again. And since I was a Marxist, soon I discovered a Marxist Freudian, Wilhelm Reich, maybe the name is known. And I became a Reichian. It was very exciting to me to read the writings of Wilhelm Reich. And why was I interested in psychoanalysis? Because I felt that something is wrong with me. It's deeply wrong. There's a song from Depeche Mode, I know, wrong. This is exactly the feeling, huh? Wrong, wrong, something is wrong with me. And my Aufgabe, my mission, my mission, what I have to do is to find out what is wrong with me and to bring me back on a good path, to stop the path which I had to go with family, society, etc. I had to find my path again, to get back on my path. And that is why I was interested in psychoanalysis in the beginning. Soon I discovered that psychoanalysis is not the answer, but okay. It was important that the early Freud, he still believed in freedom of speech, if you want. The early therapies in Freud was Rede, association, free association, etc., which is nothing else than be yourself. You tell the truth. Let you come out, the real you in you, let it come out, and it will help you, of course. And then you know, maybe, why you want to live and what you want to do with your life. So, and then came another author and psychotherapist called Arthur Janov, in English Arthur Janov, maybe, I don't know, in English, Arthur Janov. He's a Jew from Eastern Europe. His parents, Janov, he must be Russian, something. Okay, he lived in America, in the States, and there he had his institute, and there he find a new therapeutical way, which was called the primal screen, the primal therapy, or the primal screen. And I was so amazed of this theory, and it was so great. And I went there to Paris because he married a French woman and founded the Primal Institute, European Primal Institute in Paris. And I lived then, at that time I lived by coincidence in Paris. And I became a client of his. But it didn't work. It didn't work at all. Oh. With my therapist, he was a Norwegian guy, there was nothing that happened, nothing. It was exactly the opposite of what I had in mind. Namely, the total free speech. To discover yourself with your most intimate, with your most intimate feelings. And why? I remember why your most intimate feelings? Because it's only your intimate feelings who tells you who you are and what do you want to do and the way you want to live. It's only in your guts, only in your most intimate feelings. And the problem is that I speak for myself, that my feelings were hidden and
Obscured.
Yeah, and hidden. I was deadly alive. Deadly alive. And okay, it was a Misserfolg. Well, Misserfolg. Erfolg, success. The opposite?
Failure.
Failure. Thank you. So it was a complete failure. My therapy with at the Janov's Institute in Paris, and then I developed my own theory and my own practice, and it ended this discovering and this evolution and this work ended in this year with the establishment of Institute for Tiefenwahrheit, Institute for Deep Truthing. It is, okay, I have always come back to National Anarchy because National Anarchy has something to do with community. And community, to me, real community, not false community, society. Society, community. And community has something to do with real individuals. Mature, free individuals. To me, only these kinds of individuals who are free, who know who they are, who know what they want, are able to constitute communities. This is the link to National-Anarchism also. And so, to be brief, Arthur Janov, in his therapeutical sessions, he told his patients to do this and this and this to unfold the true feelings. But this is false. This is false. The therapist has not to say, do this and do this and do this. This is not your way. This is the way of the therapist. If you want to really find out who you are and to be free again with all your power and all your emotions, then you have to find it yourself. You have to find it yourself. And if it's hard, and if it takes time, okay, it takes time. Many people, me myself included, I was so destroyed. It was so hard to come back on the good path. But okay, that's the way it is. It's the only possible way to me. Instead of following others. You understand? So this is the main content of my theory is just tell the truth, but tell it really, and don't stop when it becomes emotional. Don't stop, because it's then that it starts to begin interesting, and then it starts it's only starting then to show you who you are, because we are not brains, we are bones and guts, and this is what we are. And only our deepest regions, if we know, if we are in contact with them, only then we know who we are and what we want. That is why it is so important to not stop when it becomes emotional. Okay, what can I do? What can I say about German National-Anarchism else? Yes, one difference to other is I'm opposed to any what I call organicismus.
Organization?
No. It's a philosophical term. Okay, you have some philosophers that say, okay, the world is going like this and this, and others say, no, we have to, or politicians, let's say, not philosophers, and others say, no, we have to find the natural way, the
Organic.
The organic! Or the organic way. But my position is, who tells you? What is the organ? What is, and I call it the organicist. It's a critical way of. So, I'm not a friend of the natural thing and the organic thing and. But what is the alternative to the organic thing? It's again your way, your own way. There is no organic thing that you can follow. No, you have to find your own way. Okay, what else can I say? To me, the Neolithic revolution is the crucial point of human history. Everything changed then. And me, I see it in a general way, rather negative. Reinhold Oberläscher, my National-Marxist friend, for him it's progress, like Marxists are, and progress towards communism. You're laughing, but it's serious, no? Okay, what happened in the Neolithical revolution? I don't know if you agree with the theory, but as far as I know, this whole region from Morocco until, let's say, the desert Gobi was green some 1,000 years ago. And then a catastrophe appeared, and the desert began to grow and grow. And the people who lived there at that time, they were very, very smart. They discovered that they can put little things in the soil and they have plants. This is something wundersam. Well,
Sorry?
Wundersam?
Wundersam.
Naja, also.
Wunderbar.
Nee. This is something amazing. That people discovered this. Extraordinary. But it saved their life. They found a way to live in the desert with oasis. But many problems came with this wonderful thing. Many problems. Like you say, Adam, the storage, they had too much, the trading began, the money came, everything. And then came the state, the politics, intellectualism, everything. Then came, and that is why I'm so divided between politics, non-politics, philosophy, anti-philosophy, or non-philosophy, intellectualism, so everything began then. Until then, people, there was no state, nothing, they lived in their communities. So this is the crucial point of human evolution. And it's not a good evolution to me. But, of course, it's not so easy. I admire peasants, agriculture. Of course, me myself, I'm doing it now, and I have to learn it now in my garden. That's not so black and white. But many big problems occurred. Here I have to add something important. that seemed to me too complicated when I hold a speech in Madrid. It is not only man discovered that in putting seeds into the earth, into the soil, that plants are coming out, but in the same time he discovered this for himself. He discovered that by making love, making sex, there are seeds coming into the womb of the woman and give later birth. So this is a this is the biggest revolution for me, and it has very, very serious consequences that I cannot speak about now. I have written a lot of texts about this question, but the most important consequence is that Scheiße, züchten. Wait a moment. Yes, breed is the word I was looking for now. So he not only learned to breed plants and animals to eat, but he learned also at the same time in the Neolithic Revolution to breed children, to breed human beings with purposes. There is a purpose, and this is a real big problem. This is the origin of alienation, and this is what I wanted to add to my speech.
Good. And to me, the biggest problem that brought the Neolithische Revolution was that a part of the people living there in the former green fields becoming deserts, they became peasants. They stayed decent people. They tried to find the way to eat, to find something to eat. But others, no. They said, wow, here's a desert, but in the north there's no desert. Let's go there. Let's rob. This is the biggest problem we have between the desert and the green. And there are some critical authors like James de Meo, you know him? Very interesting author, a Reichian, by the way, who are very critical towards now Muslims and Arabic people. But the worst desert storm, in my sense, was not the Muslims, was the Jews. This is the worst desert storm. And nobody identifies them as a desert storm. We identify only Turks and Huns and Muslims. Of course, there are desert storms. And we in Germany, we had our experience with the Hungarians at that time. Okay, now they are civilized. Very interesting phenomenon, Hungarians, very interesting. You feel they are still desert storm, right? The desert storm. So we had so many desert storms, but nobody is not true, but to me, the most important desert storm is the Jewish desert storm. And they come here in a very smart way. They don't come like the Huns. They do it in another way. They are very intelligent, very smart. And, okay, so if I am active as politician, But as a national-anarchist, if I meddle, if I meddle get involved in public things, which I do from time to time, then to me it's important to put the finger on this point. And I think the most important thing we have to do in this matter is to reclaim free speech. This is the most important thing. We have to reclaim free speech, and that is why I was engaged in Tehran on the conference. It was about the Holocaust. Okay, I know all the revisionist literature. I know this all, and I have my opinion, but I cannot say it. It's forbidden to say. But what we can do is to reclaim freedom of speech. We can say, no, we don't want these laws. That is why I was engaged in Tehran, not as a historian. Yes, this is my response, my answer to the desert storm. It's a desert storm which is responsible for oppression of free speech in Europe or in the Western world. And that is why it's so important. And that is why I will continue to be engaged in this matter of historical revisionism, of the question of was there gas chambers, was there genocide, etc., etc. Very important. Without saying what I believe. Okay. Well.
Q&A, question answer.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Well, I may ask the first one.
Please.
Since I can. Tell us a little bit about the queer front in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw some pictures there where you were on right-wing demonstration, left-wing, you had the queer front.
Yeah. Okay, as you can imagine, me from the left, going to the right, and going to the left again, etc. I had to do with a lot of people from the left and the right. And one day, a very famous, in Germany at least, famous man called Karl Nagel. Well, I don't know if you heard about him. Yeah. Karl Nagel was the chief, if you want, of an anti-politic party, the anarchist Pogo party, which was punks. And it was very interesting. They say, fuck, beer, punks, they are punks. But Karl Nagel is a very, very smart guy. And he organized thousands of punks. He organized meetings of punks in Hanover, and he called this Chaos-Tage, days of chaos. And believe me, it was chaos. Thousands of policemen came, and there was only punks drinking beer. It was so great. It's an organizer, this guy, Karl Nagel. It's an artist. It's an artist. And he was very famous at that time, especially in the 80s. And one day he wrote me. I got an email from him. Hello, Peter. Oh, it's very interesting what you're doing, and you are an anarchist. Me, I'm an anarchist. I'm a Pogo anarchist. You are a national. Let's meet and let's see what we can do together. I said, well, great. It was a big success for me because I tried many, many years to build bridges to the left, between the left and the right. Beyond left and right, you say in England, huh? And he called me, and I said, yeah, of course, let's meet together. And in a very typical way, Karl said, okay, let's make the queer front, because the queer front.
What does it mean?
Queer front, queer is transversal.
The cross front.
The cross. So, transversal. It's beyond left and right. Huh? It's not like this.
It transcends.
Yeah, it's beyond this. left and right. This means Querfront. And Querfront is a term that is used by the propaganda, by the Soros propaganda, against all people who don't think they want. Everybody who's saying something, this is blue, it's not red. You Querfront. You're trying to. And Karl Marx, he said, okay, we're doing the Querfront. Great, okay, Querfront, great. And it had nothing to do with the Querfront in the 20s, back in the 20s in Germany. There was already a Querfront, but more serious, between communists and National Socialists and National Bolshevists, etc. It was a Querfront also, again then. And by the way, part of this Querfront was a man called Helmut Franke, who called himself National-Anarchist. Was very interesting. Okay, anyway, we met and we had a meeting together with punks, anarchists, folk-anarchists, national-anarchists, Nazis, it was amazing, it was great. But it ended, after one day, it ended in prison. The police came like today, and we played soccer together, but neighbors had seen us hunting on horses. Okay, we went to. But the funny thing. Now I have to tell you the whole story. I have time a little bit. 10 minutes.
You got 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. This story I have to tell. So we meet for the Querfront meeting in a little town of Germany in Hessen called Rothenburg. And our beds, where we could sleep, was in a strange house. When I went in this house, it was like Hitchcock. It was like in a film of Hitchcock. It was incredible. It gives you chills, huh? And the man who lived there, he spoke with us a little bit, and we came back. The prison was over. We were expelled from Hessen to our other regions of Germany. And after 1 week, in the television, I saw the guy, 8 o'clock news, Armin. The guy was called Armin. Armin in the television. What was on? Only 1 hour, only 1 week after our meeting, Querfront. After the meeting between the Chaos Days, Karl Nagel, who put all Hanover in Schutt und Asche.
In ashes.
In ashes. And on the other hand, Peter, who denies the Holocaust. No! And only 1 week after this meeting of these horrible guys, in the TV, 8 o'clock news, Armin Maivis has eaten his friend. It was a Menschenfresser. A cannibal. So we met with a cannibal. So Holocaust, Chaos Tage, cannibalism. It was so funny, but to me it was funny. It was
Was it voluntary cannibalism or was it some sort of
real cannibalism?
Did the person eat was it kind of allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a guy.
Private part.
Yes. He told him, please eat me. Please eat me. I want to be eaten by you. So to me, it's no problem. Okay. I don't know if it's confirming to the laws, but I have no problems. Huh? Okay. Army now is in prison, still in prison now. Okay, this is the little story what I wanted to tell.
Any other questions?
Super quick one. How does the Institute for Deep Truthing manifest? Like, what is that like? I'm interested. If you can
What kind
explain.
of form does it take?
Yeah.
It is. No, repeat please. Real question.
What form does the Institute for Deep Truthing take?
Okay. It's both. It's a theory. I've written a book about it, and I still publish. But it's always also practical. So there are, I give, if you want, you can call me and have a session in deep truthing.
Cool.
It's kind of, it's in the tradition of psychotherapy, but I say it's post-psychotherapy. Because of many reasons, I say psychotherapy is over, it's no good, but we have to look for something different and else and alternatives. And I think my alternative is good.
Next question.
So your desert storm question, I feel like there needs to be more thought applied to how Jewish power is resisted within an anarchist context, because there are methods that, fractional reserve banking and all the rest.
Of course.
We perhaps might manage to comprehend this, but typically where these things are discussed, there is a explicit or implicit call for some strong arm of, government to be instituted that would counteract these trends. Now, I feel personally the sort of
Sorry for not a question.
Okay, so how do you see an approach that might be different within National-Anarchism?
Von den Globalisten benutzt,
Was die National-Anarchisten machen sollen, ist in unserer Gruppe die Macht der Juden.
This is exactly, on one hand, it's the fight for freedom of speech, very important, and on the other hand, build our own communities without money in the end.
So example is what you're saying.
Both ways.
Because not many people know this possibility. This is for me the question is, you want to preserve people's privacy, but you also want to make it known that this is possible. That it's possible to do it differently without being dependent upon loans from banks, etc.
Yes. What is the question?
Well, there's a conflict. I mean, if we talk about national anarchism as a way, then I feel people want to see some kind of precedent or visible manifestation. But at the same time, if you are living outside the system without money, you don't want to attract attention to yourself. So,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Of course, this is again a Spannungsverhältnis between two conflicts. Yeah, of course, there are two poles. One pole, non-political, just live, survive, save yourself in the next years. Save yourself. You have to live for your own. And then you can influence, or you can try to influence the state, and you try to influence the big machine, the system. Of course, you can do something. Okay, there's a conflict, it's true, but yeah, we have to.
Okay, one last question. Anybody?
No.
Okay, thank you, Peter Töpfer.